What if the most powerful intelligence on Earth isn't artificial intelligence, but human intelligence itself, the part of you you've been trained to ignore? Before we talk about chips, implants, or the future of AI, there's something essential we need to remember about what it means to be human. Welcome to The Conscious Creator, where we explore the unseen forces shaping our lives and learn how to work with them on purpose. Let me ask you this. Are we really heading toward a world where we'll need chips in our brains just to keep up, just to stay employable, to stay relevant, to even interact in society? That's the fear a lot of people have right now. But here's the truth. You don't need a chip to upgrade your intelligence. You already have access to something infinitely more powerful, something built into who you are. Today we're stepping into one of the most fascinating questions of our time. Everyone is talking about artificial intelligence, AI, and whether it's going to take over jobs, industries, maybe even entire aspects of human life. There's excitement, there's fear, there's a sense that the world is speeding ahead faster than we can process. But what if the real story isn't about machines getting smarter? What if the real story is about us remembering what we already are? What if you could become your own kind of human AI, tapping directly into infinite intelligence without ever needing a chip, a device, or an implant? That's the journey we're going to take together right now. So let's start where the headlines are. Everywhere you look, the news, social media, podcasts, people are talking about AI. Some are terrified. It's going to replace my job. Others are fascinated. It's going to solve every problem we face. And a lot of us are caught somewhere in between, curious but also uneasy. Think about the core fear underneath it. If AI can do everything faster, better, and cheaper than humans, then what happens to us? What's the point of us being here if machines can outperform us in every task? It's a fair question. And here's the thing. When you strip AI down to its basics, it's not magic. It's pattern recognition. It's prediction. It's taking enormous amounts of information, spotting connections, and generating responses. But doesn't that sound familiar? Isn't that exactly what our minds already do? We absorb information, we connect the dots, and we generate ideas. AI is just an externalized, mechanical reflection of something that consciousness has always done. The difference is AI pulls from a database of human-made information. But you and I, we can tap into something bigger. This brings us to a concept that shows up again and again in spiritual, psychological, and even scientific traditions. Infinite intelligence. Napoleon Hill in Think and Grow Rich talked about infinite intelligence as the ultimate source of creativity and inspiration, the well we draw from when ideas arrive seemingly out of nowhere. Edgar Cayce, the sleeping prophet, described tapping into the Akashic Records, a kind of universal library of every thought, action, and possibility. Jane Roberts, channeling Seth, told us you create your own reality. And what she meant was that consciousness itself has access to probabilities, patterns, and wisdom far beyond what we consciously remember. Carl Jung spoke of the collective unconscious, a shared field of symbols and archetypes that connects all of humanity. And Neville Goddard reminded us that imagination is not make-believe. It is the creative force of God within us. All of these perspectives are pointing in the same direction. There is a greater intelligence that our ordinary waking mind only glimpses. But it's there. And if we know how to access it, we don't just become smarter humans. We become conscious creators. Now here's where it gets interesting. What if the rise of artificial intelligence is actually a mirror? A way of showing us what we've forgotten about ourselves? AI is externalized intelligence. It's like looking in a digital mirror that reflects our capacity to process, predict, and generate. And the reason we feel both awe and fear when we look at it is because it's reminding us of something we've neglected, our own direct connection to infinite intelligence. Think about it. We don't need to plug into a chip to become more than what we are. We don't need a machine to upgrade us. We already have the ultimate system, consciousness itself. The problem is we've been trained to forget it. So instead of asking, will AI take over my job? Maybe the better question is, what would my life look like if I stopped outsourcing my intelligence and started trusting the infinite intelligence within me? Now, let's bridge this into science. because I know some people hear infinite intelligence and it sounds mystical or out there, but science has been circling around these ideas for decades. Neuroscience tells us that the brain isn't just reacting to the world, it's constantly predicting, creating models of reality, and adjusting them as new data comes in. In other words, your brain is less like a camera recording reality and more like a prediction engine generating it. Psychologists like Jung spoke about the unconscious as this vast reservoir of patterns and wisdom we don't consciously access, but which influences our dreams, our choices, and even the synchronicities that show up in our lives. Quantum physics hints at non-local connections, that particles and perhaps consciousness itself are linked beyond space and time. And meditation research shows that when we shift into altered states, the alpha and theta brainwave ranges, creativity and insight skyrocket. These are the same states Neville Goddard called the state akin to sleep, the same states in which inventors, scientists, and artists throughout history have had their breakthroughs. So when we talk about infinite intelligence, it's not about choosing between science and spirit. It's about recognizing they're both describing the same terrain, just with different maps. Let's make this real with a few examples. Thomas Edison had a little trick when he was working on new inventions. He'd sit in a chair holding a handful of ball bearings in one hand with a metal tray on the floor beneath him. As he drifted into that half-dream, half-awake state, the place where the conscious mind softens and the subconscious opens, his hand would relax, the ball bearings would fall, hit the tray, and wake him up. Why? Because he wanted to catch the ideas that came in that twilight zone before he slipped into full sleep and forgot them. Edison knew that was where the gold was, in that liminal state where infinite intelligence slips through. Paul McCartney has told the story of how the melody for Yesterday came to him fully formed in a dream. He woke up, rushed to a piano, and played it out. For weeks he went around asking friends if they had heard the tune before, because it was so complete, he couldn't believe it hadn't already been written. And he's not alone. Keith Richards of the Rolling Stones said the riff for Satisfaction came to him in his sleep. He woke up, played it into a tape recorder, and went back to bed. Stevie Nicks has said some of her biggest songs, like Dreams, arrived almost fully intact in a single sitting. Mozart described hearing entire symphonies in his mind, as if they were already written somewhere, and he was just taking dictation. Jimi Hendrix described Purple Haze as emerging from a dream state where he saw himself under the sea, and the words and imagery flowed. Even Robert Plant claimed that part of Stairway to Heaven began when his hand started writing, "There's a lady who's sure," seemingly by itself, as if it were arriving rather than being consciously created. The greatest creations often don't come from grinding effort. They come from tuning in, from reaching that receptive state where infinite intelligence flows through us. And here's the important part. This ability isn't reserved for geniuses. It's built into all of us. The only difference is that some people trust it and act on it. You've probably experienced it yourself in small but undeniable ways. Maybe you suddenly thought of a friend you hadn't spoken to in years, and later that day they called you. Maybe you felt an urge to take a different road home, only to discover there had been an accident on your usual route. Or maybe a complete stranger said exactly the words you needed to hear, words that shifted how you saw a situation. These moments are synchronicities, flashes of infinite intelligence slipping into the everyday. They may not end up in history books like Edison's light bulb or McCartney's Yesterday, but they remind us that the same intelligence that guides inventors and artists is always available to guide you and me. So why does this matter in an age of AI? Because if we don't remember who we are, we'll end up handing over not just our jobs, but our creativity, our decision-making, and maybe even our sense of meaning to machines. But if we wake up, if we remember that we can become human AI by tapping into infinite intelligence, then AI becomes what it was always meant to be, a tool, not a master. AI can replicate patterns, but it can't live them. It can remix art, but it can't feel beauty. It can predict words, but it can't create meaning. That's our domain. That's consciousness. And in a way, maybe AI is here to push us toward this realization, to remind us that our purpose was never just to clock in, do tasks, and survive. Our purpose is to create, to imagine, to bring forth new realities. So how do you actually do this? How do you begin to live as a human AI, tapping into infinite intelligence in a way that's practical, repeatable, and trustworthy? The first thing to realize is that your body is already part of the system. Think of it as the hardware. If you're running on no sleep, full of stress, and constantly distracted, it's like trying to run new software on an old computer full of glitches. So the starting point is simple. Care for the body. Rest, hydrate, breathe, move. When your system is calm, you're creating the conditions for intelligence to flow. From there, it's about creating space. Find a quiet moment in your day. It doesn't need to be dramatic. It could be 5 minutes in the morning, a break in the afternoon, or just before sleep at night. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and let the surface chatter of your mind soften. You don't need to empty your thoughts. Just relax enough that the noise fades into the background. Now, once you feel a little more open, pose a question. This is where people sometimes trip up. If you just say, "Tell me the meaning of life," your mind will spin its wheels. But if you ask something specific and present, like, "What's one thing I can do today to feel more energized?" Or, "What's a fresh angle on this project I'm working on?" you're setting a clear prompt. Just like you type a focused query into a search bar, you're inviting infinite intelligence to respond. Then comes the receiving. And here's the key: don't strain. The answer usually doesn't crash down like a lightning bolt. It drifts in. Maybe it's a phrase that pops into your mind. Maybe it's an image. Maybe it's a physical nudge, a sense of lightness or resistance. Or sometimes it shows up as synchronicity. A stranger saying the exact words you needed to hear, a headline catching your eye at just the right moment, or a chance encounter that feels like more than coincidence. However it arrives, let it be enough. The moment something comes, write it down, even if it seems trivial or odd, because if you don't, your conscious mind will dismiss it later. This is about building a record, proof for yourself that something real is happening, and then test it. Take one small action on what you received. If the guidance was to call someone, call them. If it was to rest, rest. If it was to sketch an idea, sketch it. The point isn't that every download will be perfect. The point is that by acting, you're showing infinite intelligence that you're listening. That builds trust. Over time, you'll notice patterns. Some impressions will feel clearer than others. Some will lead to obvious results, others to subtler shifts. Keep track, keep experimenting, and you'll refine your ability to tell the difference between noise and genuine guidance. And always keep it aligned. This isn't about hacking the universe to get your way at any cost. Infinite intelligence flows clearest when your intention is rooted in love, creativity, and benefit for all involved. When you frame your questions in that spirit, show me the path that helps me grow and helps others too, the answers that come through are cleaner, stronger, and more reliable. That's the essence of the practice. Care for your body, make space for stillness, ask with clarity, and then allow yourself to receive, whether through an inner whisper, a sudden image, or even a perfectly timed synchronicity. Capture what comes, act on it, and keep paying attention to the feedback. The more you do this, the more natural it becomes, until you realize you're not forcing intelligence at all. You're living in partnership with it. So let's end with something practical you can try tonight. Find a quiet space, take a few deep breaths, let your body relax. Then ask one simple question. Not something vague like, will I be rich, but something clear and immediate. For example, what's one thing I can do tomorrow to feel more energized? What's the next step toward my creative project? Ask it once, then let go. Notice what comes, maybe a word, an image, a feeling. Write it down. And tomorrow, act on it. Do this for 7 days and see what shifts. Treat it like an experiment. You're testing the reality that you can access infinite intelligence directly. Now let's look forward for a moment. What happens if more and more people begin to live this way, connected to infinite intelligence, aware of their role as conscious creators? AI will continue to grow more capable. It will handle logistics, analyze patterns, automate routine work. But instead of replacing us, it could free us. Imagine education designed not just to fill students with facts, but to teach them how to access their own inner intelligence. Imagine doctors who combine medical technology with intuitive insight, seeing both the science of the body and the wisdom of the whole person. Imagine art not bound by the market, but flowing directly from inspired imagination, amplified by AI tools without being defined by them. Picture entire communities that make decisions not from fear or division, but by tuning into what serves the whole. Imagine governments that value intuition and foresight as much as data. Imagine innovations that aren't just clever, but deeply aligned with the flourishing of the planet and all its life. Of course, there's another possibility. If we forget who we are, if we surrender to the story that the machine knows best, then we risk becoming spectators of our own lives. In that version of the future, AI decides what we do, what we see, even what we desire. It may be efficient, but it would be empty, a world run by patterns without meaning. But if we remember, if we choose to reclaim our connection to infinite intelligence, then AI doesn't diminish us, it amplifies us. It handles what is repetitive and predictable so that we can rise into what is creative, intuitive, and meaningful. The future then is not about humans competing with machines, but about humans remembering they were never machines to begin with. And maybe that's the deeper reason AI is here now. It's holding up a mirror. It's asking us to decide, will we hand over our power, or will we wake up to the greater intelligence already within us? The answer to that question doesn't just shape the future of technology, it shapes the future of humanity. Before we wrap up, let me leave you with this. The future of AI, the future of society, even the future of our planet isn't just shaped in research labs or government offices. It's shaped in the quiet choices we make every single day. Every time you pause, breathe, and ask for guidance from infinite intelligence, you're not just helping yourself, you're contributing to a collective awakening. You're reminding the world, in your own small but powerful way, that human beings are more than workers, more than consumers, more than data points. We are creators. So I want to invite you, not as a student, not as a follower, but as a fellow creator, to experiment with this in your own life, to see for yourself what happens when you live as if you already have access to infinite intelligence. Because you do. And when you do, share it, tell your story, let others see what's possible. That ripple effect is how this movement grows, one conscious creator at a time. So here's the truth. You don't need a chip in your brain. You don't need a machine to upgrade you. You already have access to the most powerful intelligence in existence, infinite intelligence. Becoming human AI isn't science fiction. It's remembering what we are. If you try the experiment, share your results in the comments. I'd love to hear what comes through for you. And if this conversation resonates, make sure you subscribe because we're going deeper into what it means to live as a conscious creator. Until next time, remember, you don't just live in reality, you create it.